The screams hit first, sharp, frantic, cutting through the warm Saturday air like a warning siren no one was prepared for. Families froze mid-step in the lobby of the West Arroyo County Animal Shelter. A child dropped his balloon. A volunteer lost her grip on a clipboard. And from the far quarantine wing, a thunderous metallic slam shook the concrete floor. The dog was at it again. "Back away! Everybody back away!" Deputy Carl Briggs yelled, clutching his bandaged shoulder as he stumbled toward the hallway. But the warning came too late. The huge sable Belgian Malinois inside kennel Q7 exploded against the steel gate, teeth flashing, claws shredding his own paws as he launched into another full-body hit. This wasn't normal aggression. This was something deeper, feral, focused, desperate. Mothers pulled their children behind them. Staff yelled for doors to be shut. And yet, even in the chaos, one detail stood out like a crack of lightning. The dog wasn't lunging at people. He was lunging at the floor. More precisely, the same spot, over and over. A rust-colored drain embedded in the concrete, as if something beneath it was burning through his mind. A shelter volunteer whispered, "He's going insane!" Briggs snapped. "He's done. I'm filing for immediate euthanasia, today." And then the crowd parted, as a woman in an oil-stained ball cap stepped inside the hallway, her limp barely noticeable beneath the weight of her boots. Maya Cole, former Army EOD tech, the woman who never stepped foot in this shelter, stared at the frantic dog. Her face went pale, because the way he clawed the floor, the way his ears flattened, the way his body trembled. She had seen this exact pattern once before, seconds before an IED erupted beneath the desert sand. Silence had a shape in Maya Cole's life. It lived in the thin desert wind slipping between the sheets of corrugated metal behind her auto shop. It lived in the way her small trailer creaked at night. It lived in the faint hum of her old floor fan that she left running even in winter, because silence, real silence, was the one thing she couldn't bear. Most mornings in West Arroyo, Texas, began the same. The sun rose red over the flat horizon. A distant freight train grumbled through town. Dust settled on everything, on abandoned tractors, on broken neon signs, on the faded mural downtown that no one had bothered retouching in years. And Maya, wearing a grease-stained ball cap and a brace strapped tight around her left knee, unlocked the roll-up door of her one-bay garage. A single mechanic, a single toolbox, a single way to keep breathing. She'd turned wrenches since she was 14, but the shop behind the gas station had become more than a job. It was a shield, a place where she didn't have to explain why she flinched at slamming car doors, or why fireworks made her disappear for days, or why she could fix an engine in half the usual time, but couldn't step inside the county fairgrounds during 4th of July. Locals called her quiet. Others called her strange. A few veterans passing through recognized the gait, the off-balance limp caused by a blast that had rearranged bone and metal inside her leg. But no one knew the whole story. No one knew about Luke. No one knew about the dog that died saving her team. No one knew about the memory she replayed so often it had carved a trench inside her mind. Sand, heat, and a working dog clawing the earth in warning. She built her life around routine so the memories wouldn't consume her. Fix a truck, patch a tire, feed the stray cat living behind the shop, keep to herself, sleep in short, shallow bursts, repeat. She stayed away from the county shelter for one reason. Dogs were mirrors. They saw straight through her armor. Their trust reminded her of the one she lost. Their eyes held questions she didn't want to answer. And yet that morning, she found herself hauling 2 oversized bags of dog food into the back of her truck. The gas station had received a missed shipment. The manager begged her to drop it at the shelter. "You're headed that way anyway, right? Please, Maya. They're having a big adoption day. They need it." She told herself it was fine. A quick errand. Drop the food, stay outside, leave before anyone talked to her. She'd be back at the shop within 15 minutes. But as she pulled into the gravel lot and cut the engine, she felt it. An old, unwelcome prickling at the base of her neck. A vibration, a warning, an instinct she hadn't listened to in years. Inside, she heard the roar of a dog hitting metal. Then a scream. Maya stiffened. Her breath caught. It couldn't be. Not here. Not again. But when she stepped into the hallway and saw the Malinois launching at the floor like the earth itself was dangerous, her heart slammed against her ribs. Because she didn't just see a dog. She saw a soldier giving a warning no one understood. The hallway smelled of bleach, wet concrete, and the faint sweetness of dog shampoo, the usual cocktail of a county shelter on a busy weekend. But underneath it, Maya caught something else. A metallic tang. A tension in the air. A pressure she felt more than heard. Children huddled near their parents. Volunteers whispered nervously. And at the far end, the quarantine wing buzzed with a kind of electricity that made Maya's fingertips tingle. Angela, the shelter director, stepped into view. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her ponytail coming undone, and her eyes carried the exhausted glaze of someone who had worked 3 double shifts in a row. "Ma'am," Angela said, chest heaving a little, "you need to stand back. He's unpredictable." But Maya wasn't listening. Her gaze was locked on the dog. The Malinois, massive, sinewy, built like a spring, loaded with fear, had stopped mid-lunge. His sides pumped in quick, shallow breaths. Foam flecked the corners of his mouth. His pupils were blown wide, almost swallowing the brown of his eyes. His ears were flattened so tightly against his skull they practically disappeared beneath his coat. Not aggression, not dominance, not even defense. Terror. Pure, bone-deep terror. The dog spun, scraping his claws across the concrete, throwing glances at the floor, the drain, the wall. Everywhere but the people. The kind of scanning no pet dog ever learned. This was operational behavior. Deputy Briggs shoved past her, cursing under his breath. His sling bounced against his uniform. "Step aside, Cole," he snapped. "That thing's a walking lawsuit." Maya didn't move. Her voice came out low, almost detached. "What's his story?" "Owner surrender," Angela answered before Briggs could. "Came in 4 days ago. The man dragged him through the door on a choke chain, said he was worthless and broken from day one. Wouldn't give details. Just signed him over and left." "Won't let anyone near him," Briggs added with a grimace. "He bit me during intake. Level 4 attack. Nearly ripped my shoulder open. I filed the report already." "That wasn't an attack," Maya said quietly. "It was panic," Briggs scoffed. "A bite is a bite." She didn't argue. There was no point yet. Instead, she took a single step closer to the kennel. The dog reacted instantly, body tensing, head whipping toward her. Not to strike, not to lunge, but to assess. His nose flared. His tail dropped low, tucked, but not fully. His paws shifted, distributing weight like he was bracing for an aftershock. Then she heard it. A sound so small no one else reacted. A vibrating, harmonic growl deep in the dog's throat. Not directed at her. Directed at the ground. Her stomach tightened. Not possible, not here. But instincts didn't care about logic. Angela rubbed her temples. "We've tried everything. Calming pheromones, blankets over the gate, food puzzles. Nothing stops him from digging at that drain. He's going to kill himself on the concrete." "What's his name?" Maya asked. Angela pointed to the faded tag clipped to the gate. "Ranger, Rhett." The world tilted. Retired. Classified microchip. Panic triggered by vibrations. Scanning the floor for threats. Maya swallowed hard. Her pulse thundering in her ears. Ranger wasn't trying to escape. He was warning them. She stepped even closer, ignoring Briggs's barked protest. Ranger's breath hitched, eyes widening. Not in fear, but in recognition. Years collapsed in on her. A desert road. A patrol dog clawing at the sand. A split-second instinct she didn't listen to soon enough. And now, here she was again, seeing the same signs in another soldier wearing fur. Maya exhaled shakily. "Angela," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "He's not dangerous." She placed her hand on the chill metal gate. "He's alerting." For a long moment, no one breathed. The word alerting hung in the stale shelter air, drifting above the fluorescent hum like a warning only Maya truly understood. Angela frowned. "Alerting? You mean like a service dog?" "No," Maya murmured. Her eyes never left Ranger. "Like a soldier." The Malinois pressed his chest, flat to the concrete, nails scraping, ears pinned so tightly they almost vanished. His entire body trembled, not toward aggression, but inward, like someone bracing for a blast. His gaze flicked between Maya and the floor drain, a silent message pulsing from pupil to pupil. Briggs scoffed. "You can't seriously think this mutt." But Maya didn't hear him, because the world around her was dissolving. The hallways, the kennel runs, the smell of bleach. They faded beneath a desert sun. She was back in Afghanistan. The air baked at 117 degrees. Wind hissed low across sandbags. The metallic rattle of distant vehicles echoed like ghosts. And ahead of her, 20 feet, Luke Ramirez's working dog, K9 Scout, froze mid-stride. Scout's tail dropped. His pupils widened. His paws dug at the desert floor with urgent, frantic strokes. Maya's breath caught. No, not now. Not this memory. But the flashback surged anyway. "Cole, you good?" Luke's voice drifted in, warm and steady. She had nodded. Too fast, too confident, trying to pretend the exhaustion clouding her brain wasn't real. Scout had scraped the earth again, harder, whining deep in his chest. A warning, pure and unmistakable. But she had hesitated. Just for a second. Just one fatal second. Then everything went white. A concussion wave slammed her backward. Sand swallowed the sky. Her ears rang for weeks. Luke and Scout never got back up. And Maya, wrapped in guilt she never spoke aloud, had convinced herself she misread the dog's alert. That she was the reason they died. Her vision snapped back to the shelter, the floor, the drain, the Malinois. Ranger's claws digging, scraping exactly like Scout had done. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This wasn't coincidence. Ranger wasn't trying to escape or attack. He was communicating in the only language war dogs were trained to use when the threat was beneath them. Maya knelt slowly, ignoring the crack of pain in her left knee. "Easy, Ranger," she whispered. "It's okay. I hear you." Ranger froze. His panting slowed. His eyes, wild seconds earlier, softened, shifting from panic to laser-focused study. He recognized her posture, her tone, her breathing. She wasn't a civilian. She was one of his kind. Deputy Briggs stepped forward. "Cole, back up! That dog is unstable!" Maya didn't move. Couldn't move. Because Ranger had stopped snarling at the floor and now stared directly at her. Body trembling, tail tucked, ears twitching in tiny micro-movements she hadn't seen in a decade. Micro-movements working dogs made only when they were trying desperately to relay a threat their handler wasn't seeing. Maya swallowed hard. "Angela, how deep does the piping run under this wing?" Angela blinked. Old gas lines, I think. Why?" Maya's stomach dropped. She pressed her palm against the cold concrete and whispered, "He's not afraid of people. He's afraid of what's under us." "Under us," Angela repeated, blinking as if the words didn't quite register. Before Maya could answer, Ranger lurched into another frantic clawing fit. His nails scraped sparks against the concrete. His breath hitched in panicked bursts. He wasn't attacking. He was pleading. Maya stood slowly, eyes scanning the faint spiderweb cracks around the drain. The concrete had a slight bow in it, so subtle only someone who'd spent a lifetime reading terrain would notice. A whisper of gas, settling soil, a vibration. She didn't know. But the dog knew something. Briggs stepped forward again, jaw clenched. "I'm ending this. Move." He raised his tranquilizer rifle. That broke the world open. "Don't," Maya said sharply. But it wasn't her voice that halted the room. Another voice, soft, gravelly, and unexpected, cut through the tension. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Everyone turned. At the end of the hallway stood an older man in coveralls, a mop bucket beside him, the custodian, the one no one ever noticed. Mr. Walker, Vietnam vet, bad hip, quieter than a shadow. He leaned on the mop handle like it was a cane. His eyes, though old and tired, were sharp with something Maya instantly recognized. Experience, memory, survival. Walker nodded at Ranger's kennel. "That dog isn't dangerous. He's scared out of his damn mind. And he's pointing at something." Briggs snapped. "He bit me." Walker didn't even blink. "And 30 years ago, a trapped dog saved my life in a tunnel under Pleiku. Sometimes they know before we do." Angela pinched the bridge of her nose. "Walker, please." "I've been smelling gas in here for 2 days," Walker interrupted softly. "Thought it was the old heaters. But now—" He nodded to Ranger. "Now I'm not so sure." A deep, prickling silence filled the hallway. Maya exhaled. "He's alerting to a threat below. That's what these dogs do. That's what they're trained for." Briggs scoffed. "He's trained? He's a liability." "No," Maya said. "He's a veteran." Then she turned to Angela. "We need time." Angela hesitated, torn between policy, fear, and an exhaustion so heavy it seemed to weigh down her shoulders. "Maya, he's already under a level 4 aggression report. State law doesn't give us much flexibility. We'd need proof he can be controlled for transfer." "What kind of proof?" Maya asked. Jordan, the young vet tech, appeared from the office with a clipboard clutched to his chest. "It says here a video demonstration. Must accept a muzzle and walk on leash, from kennel to transport van, without lunging." Briggs snorted. "Impossible. That dog would rather take off his own leg." But Maya wasn't listening to him anymore. She was looking at a beat-up wooden stool leaning against the wall, a forgotten piece of furniture, 3 legs, chipped paint. A memory stirred. Something she had seen military canine handlers do when re-socializing traumatized dogs. Sit low, sideways, still, neutral, outlast the storm. She grabbed the stool. Walker arched a brow. "You gonna try the old method?" Maya nodded. "It's the only one that works with dogs like him." Briggs threw his hands up. "This is madness." But Maya had already walked toward Ranger's kennel. She placed the stool exactly 10 feet away, angled her body sideways, sat down slowly. And didn't look at the dog, didn't speak, didn't blink. Just breathed. The hallway fell silent except for Ranger's ragged panting. And for the first time since he exploded into panic that morning, he hesitated. His claws stopped scraping. His chest lowered half an inch. His eyes, wide, glassy, terrified, shifted from the floor drain to her. A tremor ran through him. Recognition, memory. A ghost of training buried under months of trauma. Maya whispered, just loud enough for Ranger to hear. "It's okay, soldier. I'm not the enemy." For several seconds, no one moved. Ranger remained crouched low, trembling, his breath shaky and uneven. Maya didn't look at him. Not directly. She kept her shoulders slanted away, gaze fixed on some invisible point on the far wall. Her hands rested loosely in her lap, her breathing slow, predictable, neutral, the exact opposite of the chaos twisting through the rest of the room. Briggs shifted irritably. "This is pointless. He's gonna snap any second." "Then stop talking," Maya murmured, never raising her voice. That only made him angrier. Cole, you don't get it. This is not Afghanistan. This is not a war zone. This is a county shelter with liability rules. If that thing hurts someone, it's on me. Walker shook his head. Why are you acting like she's poking him with a stick? She's sitting, and the dog is calming. Calming? Briggs barked a humorless laugh. Look at him. He's trembling like a bomb about to go off. No, Maya corrected softly. He's thinking. He's deciding. Ranger's ears twitched. His pupils shrank from panic to hyperfocus. His head lowered to the ground. He inhaled deeply, long, slow, deliberate. Maya felt it. A shift in the room, something fragile. But then, the heavy metal door at the end of the hallway slammed open. Angela flinched. Walker muttered something under his breath. Briggs straightened with an annoyed groan. Jordan jogged in, face pale, waving a sheet of paper. Angela, you need to see this. Now. Angela took it. The more she read, the more the color drained from her cheeks. What is it? Maya asked, still not turning toward Ranger. Angela swallowed hard. A county incident report was filed this morning. Level 4 aggression. Officer injury requiring stitches. She looked at Briggs. Briggs lifted his bandaged forearm defensively. What was I supposed to do? Let him tear chunks out of the wall until he killed himself? Angela kept reading. Then whispered, Oh God! What? Walker asked. The state board reviewed it immediately. Her voice trembled. And because Ranger is classified as a high-risk, unadoptable animal, the default action is Maya's gut tightened before the words came. Euthanasia, Angela finished, breath catching. Scheduled in 7 days, unless he can be proven manageable for transfer. Briggs exhaled, relieved, almost triumphant. Finally. A solution, Walker snapped. A solution. It's a death sentence. A legal one, Briggs shot back. And one that keeps this town safe. Maya, still on the stool, didn't move. But something inside her did. 7 days. 7 days to undo months of trauma. 7 days to teach a terrified war dog that the world wasn't trying to kill him. 7 days to prove he could wear a muzzle, walk on leash, and stay controlled. 7 days before another soldier was lost because someone misread a sign. She inhaled slowly. Maya, Angela said quietly, you don't have to do this. You're not staff. I can't ask. You didn't, Maya said. He did. Ranger's trembling slowed. His eyes flicked back up at her, searching, waiting. Briggs crossed his arms. You're putting your life at risk for an animal who's already failed his training. No, Maya said, voice low and steady. He didn't fail anything. She finally turned her head, just slightly, toward Ranger. He survived something. Ranger let out a soft, broken whine. A sound that wasn't aggression, wasn't fear. It was recognition. Angela whispered, 7 days. Maya nodded once, resolute. Then we don't waste a single minute. At dawn the next morning, the desert sky above Red Mesa was painted in cold purples and pale gold, the kind of light that made everything look fragile, temporary, racing against time. Maya stood at the edge of Ranger's new reinforced run, a tactical muzzle in one hand, a soft slip lead looped over her other wrist. She wore yesterday's clothes, a jacket zipped tight against the bite of early morning wind. She hadn't slept, not really. Her body was tired, but her senses were razor sharp. Ranger knew she was there before she even stepped inside the corridor. His silhouette shifted in the shadows, low, tense, coiled. Walker arrived carrying a thermos of coffee. Angela opened early for us. She believes in you. Maya didn't look away from Ranger. This isn't about belief. This is about time. 6 days, 23 hours, Walker muttered. No pressure. Ranger's first bark shattered the quiet. Sharp, explosive, echoing off concrete like a weapon being fired. Walker flinched. Maya didn't. "That's not aggression," she murmured. "That's a warning to the world that he's still alive." She approached the gate. Slow, controlled. Ranger lunged. Metal clanged. Dust shook from the chain link. His eyes were wide, pupils blown, body locked in fight or flight. Walker stepped back. "He remembers you from yesterday. Maybe today, maybe he'll trust faster." "No," Maya said. "He won't trust faster. He'll trust deeper." The difference hung heavy in the cold air. She crouched, knees bent, shoulder angled away. Not small, but simply safe. "Ranger," she said softly, "I'm not here to take anything. I'm here to give something back." He snarled, pacing from wall to wall, caught between instinct and memory. Maya reached into her pocket and pulled out a strip of jerky, slowly, deliberately placing it halfway through the gate, not toward him, but toward the empty center of the run, a neutral offering. Ranger froze. The barking stopped in an instant, so abrupt it startled even Walker. He recognized the ritual. Maya exhaled. Good. He's not motivated by food. He's motivated by patterns. By what used to mean safety. Walker whispered. "He's remembering someone." "Yeah," Maya murmured. "But not me." She slid the muzzle forward, barely an inch inside the gate. Ranger recoiled violently. His body slammed backward into the concrete wall. A painful yelp tore from his throat. He wasn't scared of pain. He was scared of what came before the pain. Walker swore under his breath. "We're pushing him too fast." "No," Maya said calmly, holding her position. "He just told us where his line is." She didn't move the muzzle. She waited. Minutes passed. Winter sunlight crept across the floor. Ranger's breathing slowed. Then, unexpectedly, he crept forward, inch by inch, as if dragged by invisible threads of old training and desperate need. His nose stretched toward the muzzle. He sniffed it. A low, confused whine left him, trembling in the space between fear and memory. Maya didn't reward him, didn't speak, didn't move. This wasn't about treats. This was about ghosts. Then, a blast of footsteps echoed down the hall. "Where is he?" Maya stiffened. Walker cursed. Angela came rushing behind the intruder. It was Ethan Rivera, the man who had brought Ranger in. The owner. His face red, hands shaking, and on his belt, what looked unmistakably like a stun baton. Ranger's reaction was immediate. Not fear, not panic. A sound Maya had not heard yet. A deep, shaking growl that came from the very back of his ribs. Walker grabbed Maya's wrist. "He knows that man." "No," Maya whispered. Her eyes locked on Ranger. "He remembers what that man did to him." Ranger's growl deepened. Ethan took another step forward. Angela shouted, "Stop! You're not allowed back here." Ethan raised the baton anyway. And in that split second, Maya moved. Not toward Ethan, but toward Ranger, straight into the danger. The stun baton cracked as Ethan flicked it on. Blue arcs of electricity snapped between the metal prongs. Sharp, violent, unmistakable. Ranger's entire body jolted backward. He scrambled, claws scraping wildly against concrete. The sound was raw, metallic, an animal begging its own instincts to save it from a memory it couldn't escape. Walker stepped forward, fury boiling under his breath. "Hey, put that down! That dog is under county care!" Ethan didn't flinch. He pointed the sparking baton at the kennel. "You don't understand what this animal is. I told you, he's dangerous. Vicious. Uncontrollable." Maya placed herself directly between Ethan and the kennel gate. Weight planted, stance solid. "No," she said. Her voice didn't tremble. "He's traumatized. There's a difference." Ethan barked a laugh. "Lady, that thing nearly ripped my arm off last month." Because you tried to force a muzzle on him, Maya replied. We saw the intake photos. Her jaw hardened. Those weren't the wounds of a dog attack. They were the wounds of restraint. Ethan's smile thinned. Angela finally found her voice. You're not allowed back here, legally. You forfeited ownership. Ethan stepped closer, baton humming. I need the dog back. Walker's brows snapped together. Why? You can't even handle him. Because, Ethan growled, he isn't just a dog. He's government property, and he's carrying something I need. Maya stiffened. Angela gasped. Walker swore under his breath. What are you talking about? Angela demanded. Ethan lifted a folded sheet of paper from his pocket and tossed it toward them. It fluttered to the ground, sliding to Maya's feet. She didn't pick it up. Walker did. He read the header first, and his blood ran cold. Private security contractor, property transfer form, below that. Former MWD Ranger, assigned to Rivera Tactical Solutions. Angela whispered, He wasn't adopted? Walker shook his head. This isn't adoption paperwork. This is asset transfer. Like he was equipment. Ethan's lips curled. That's exactly what he is, and I want him back before this mess with the county ruins everything. Maya took one slow step forward. Ranger, behind her, emitted a thin, broken whine, the sound of a trapped soldier reliving something he couldn't escape. You trained him, Maya said quietly. Ethan hesitated. Maya's voice sharpened, cutting through the air. You didn't just train him. You used him. You pushed him past safety protocols. You ignored fear responses. You punished warning signals. And when he broke, you brought him here so someone else would deal with your damage. Ethan's face flushed with rage. He tightened his grip on the baton. I'm taking him, he snapped. And I'll call the sheriff if I have to. Angela stepped between them, hands shaking. You can't. Not without a behavioral clearance. And he's under a 7-day county euthanasia order. You're legally out of the equation. Ethan's jaw clenched. His eyes flickered with something deeper. Fear. He holds classified responses, Ethan blurted suddenly. He was trained for explosive triage. He was part of something you wouldn't understand. Maya's blood chilled. Explosive triage. That meant Ranger wasn't just any retired dog. He was a high-level detection asset. A dog who had been pushed far beyond normal combat thresholds. And Ethan hadn't come here to reclaim him out of guilt. He came because he feared what Ranger might remember. Or worse, what he might reveal. Walker lifted his phone. I'm calling Jared. Ethan turned to bolt. But Maya stepped sideways, blocking the hall like a solid wall of resolve. You're not going anywhere, she said. Not until someone hears what you just admitted. Ethan's eyes darted to the exit. Then he ran. Straight out the back door and into the parking lot, disappearing behind the trucks. Walker sprinted after him. Angela rushed to call Jared. Maya exhaled slowly, then turned back toward Ranger. He wasn't barking. He wasn't pacing. He was sitting in the corner, shaking, but watching her. And for the first time, his eyes weren't filled with panic. They were filled with recognition, as if he finally understood. She wasn't there to control him. She was there to protect him. Jared arrived in less than 10 minutes. No sirens, no flashing lights. Just the silent authority of a man who had spent 25 years dealing with emergencies that never made the news. He strode through the hallway, jaw tight, eyes already scanning for threats. Where is he? Jared demanded. Ran out the back, Walker said, still breathing hard. He knew the cameras don't cover that angle. Jared gritted his teeth. Of course he did. That entire layout was installed during his contract days. Angela held out the transfer paper. He tried to take Ranger. Said he's government property and he mentioned explosive triage training. Jared froze mid-step. His eyes snapped to Maya. Is that true? Maya nodded once. Yes. Jared exhaled a long, heavy breath. That changes everything. Ranger suddenly let out a sharp bark. A single, loud, urgent sound that echoed through the run. Everyone flinched. Not because it was aggressive, but because it sounded directed, purposeful, like a signal. Maya turned slowly toward him. Ranger wasn't staring at Ethan's last known exit. He was staring at Jared, specifically at Jared's belt, at a small black rectangle clipped beside his radio. Jared noticed the stare. What is he? Maya's breath caught. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He's alerting. Jared blinked. Alerting to what? Your phone, Maya said. He thinks it's a device. Jared nearly dropped it. Angela gasped. Is it? No, Maya cut in quickly. It's not a bomb. It's the shape. The casing. Some triage-trained dogs associate certain silhouette profiles with detonation triggers, Walker swore. He wasn't just standard MWD. He was on a specialized assignment, Maya nodded grimly. Explosive triage dogs don't just find bombs. They identify suspicious electronics. Unusual patterns? Improvised triggers? Angela whispered, horrified. So, if Ethan was mishandling him, he could have been forcing alerts, Maya said. Punishing him when wrong, rewarding him when right, creating trauma loops. Ranger barked again, short, sharp, tail rigid, ears pinned. A pattern. Maya slowly crouched beside the run, not touching the gate, just lowering herself enough to show Ranger he had her attention. Easy, soldier, she murmured. Ranger's gaze flicked from Jared's belt to Maya's face, waiting for command, shaking with adrenaline, trapped between instinct and memory. Maya inhaled deeply. Then, she gave a quiet, measured directive in German. Aus! Stop! Ranger froze. His breath hitched. The tension in his spine loosened. Not fully, but enough. Angela whispered, He responded. He's been waiting for someone to speak his language, Maya said softly. Jared slid his phone off his belt and placed it on the floor several feet away. Only then did Ranger's trembling ease. But Maya's heart hadn't eased at all, because she saw something else. When Ranger barked, it wasn't just an alert to the object. It was a warning. She turned to Jared. He wasn't alerting to your phone, she said slowly. Not exactly, Jared frowned. Then what? Maya pointed toward the back exit, the one Ethan had escaped through. Dogs like Ranger don't just alert on objects. They alert on patterns, behavior, tension. Walker's eyes widened. You're saying he was warning us about Ethan? Maya nodded. He wasn't afraid of the stun baton. She looked toward the door, jaw tightening. He was afraid of what Ethan might be carrying. Jared's expression darkened. Then, we're not dealing with an abusive owner. His voice dropped to a low growl. We're dealing with a man trying to cover up a breach. Angela's hand flew to her mouth. Walker whispered, and Ranger's the only one who knows the truth. Maya looked back at the trembling dog. The soldier trapped behind his own training. No, she said quietly. Her voice was steady, unshakable. He's the only one who can prove it. For the next 3 hours, the shelter transformed into a makeshift command post. Jared locked the facility. Walkie-talkies buzzed. Angela pulled old intake files from dusty cabinets. Walker was on the phone with County Dispatch requesting a quiet, unofficial search for Ethan Rivera's truck. But Maya, she stayed exactly where she needed to be, kneeling beside Ranger's run, shoulder angled away, voice calm, presence steady. And Ranger, shaken, pacing, trembling, kept returning to her side of the gate, not touching, not trusting, but orbiting her, like she was becoming the gravitational center of a world he no longer understood. Maya, Jared called from his office. You'll want to see this. She stood and joined him. The office lights flickered, old bulbs humming in the winter air. Jared placed a thin beige file on the desk. "This," he said, tapping the cover, "is the packet Ethan threw during intake. Meredith scanned a copy before we locked it away. He claimed it was useless paperwork." Maya opened it slowly. Her breath stopped. The first page was a standard K-9 deployment report. Nothing unusual. But the second page, her heart dropped. "Jared, this is a behavioral downgrade request." "Yeah. And this signature. This is not a vet signature. That's a contractor code." Jared nodded. "Rivera Tactical Solutions." Maya kept reading. Lines sharpened. Words blurred. Then she found the paragraph that made her blood turn cold. MWD Ranger displayed acute fear responses during unauthorized trial exposure to novel electronic stimuli. Handler indicates dog is no longer reliable. Recommend disposal. She slammed her hand on the desk. The file fluttered. "Trial exposure," she hissed. "That's illegal. That means they pushed him past protocol, probably using live electronics, maybe unstable battery packs, maybe—" Her voice choked. She flashed back to sand, to burning wire, to the sound of Max's collar tags striking the dirt as he leapt forward. Jared's voice softened. "Maya?" But Ranger's reaction from across the hall answered for her. A deep bark, then another, then a frantic scraping of claws. He wasn't barking at panic this time. He was barking at memory. Maya's knees weakened. Jared grabbed her arm. "What did he react to?" Maya looked down at the file. Specifically, the last page. A crumpled photograph stapled to the corner. She lifted it. Ranger barked so hard, the chain link rattled. Walker rushed over. "What the hell is going on?" Maya stared at the photograph, stunned. It showed Ranger, but younger, stronger, wearing a tactical harness marked K-9, Triage Unit Bravo. But that wasn't what froze Maya. It was the man standing next to him. A man half-turned, face partially obscured. But unmistakable. Ethan Rivera. Only, he wasn't in contractor gear. He was wearing a uniform patch with a restricted insignia. A patch Maya hadn't seen in years. Jared whispered, "Maya, what is that?" She swallowed hard. "That's not a standard military patch." Walker leaned closer. "Then who trains triage dogs if not the military?" Maya exhaled shakily. Her hands trembled around the photo. "That patch is only issued to privately contracted explosive development teams, black budget groups, the kind that operate off the books." Angela covered her mouth. "Meaning?" Maya closed the file slowly. "That means Ranger wasn't just pushed. He was part of illegal field tests." Jared's jaw clenched. "And Ethan ran because he's hiding the fact he used Ranger to test unstable devices," Maya said. "And Ranger might still remember the pattern, the smell, the signature, any piece of evidence that could damn him." Walker stepped back. "So this isn't about a dangerous dog." Maya nodded grimly. "This is about a dangerous man." Ranger barked again. Sharp, precise, a pattern. Maya's chest tightened. "He's recognizing something in this file, something I haven't seen yet." She flipped one more page. A final line scribbled in black marker. A serial number. Long, complicated, meaningless at first glance. Until Ranger whined. A low, keening sound, his nose pressed against the chain link. Maya whispered, "Oh my God." Because she knew exactly what that serial number meant. It wasn't a code. It was a location. Coordinates. The place where Ranger's final illegal test was done. And whatever happened there, it broke him. The coordinates led them 30 miles outside Red Mesa, past the sagging fence lines, past the abandoned gas station, past the skeletal remains of a mining road that hadn't seen traffic in a decade. By noon, Maya, Jared, and Walker were bumping along a dirt track in Jared's old police interceptor. Ranger rode in the reinforced transport crate in the back, a temporary setup designed to keep him calm and safe. He wasn't calm. He wasn't panicking either. He was alerting. Every 20 seconds, he let out a low, vibrating whine, eyes fixed on the passing landscape, as if he was counting landmarks only he could recognize. Walker kept glancing back. He hasn't stopped since we left town. Maya nodded grimly. He knows where we're going. Jared focused on the road. Are you sure we shouldn't have waited for sheriff backup? No, Maya said. If we call this in too early, Ethan will hear it on county radio. He'll disappear. They crested a hill. Then, the land flattened into a wide basin, dead quiet, burnt patches of earth, splintered wooden posts that once held warning signs, a ring of blackened metal fragments half buried in the sand. Walker whispered, "What happened here?" Maya felt her chest tighten. "I've seen sites like this before," she said softly. "This is a blast testing ground." Jared's jaw clenched. "For bombs?" "For prototypes," Maya corrected. "Unstable ones. Ones the military wouldn't authorize." Walker stepped out, scanning the area. "I thought this stuff was illegal." "It is." Maya walked toward a large metal plate warped into a crescent. Sand had blown across it, hiding scorch marks, but not well enough. She knelt. A faint residue clung to the surface, powdery, grayish-green. Her breath hitched. "No," she whispered. "What is it?" Jared asked. Maya rubbed her thumb against the residue. "It's PTN dust, raw, unstabilized." Walker paled. "That stuff can explode from friction." "Exactly. A triage dog is never supposed to be near raw explosive substrate." Maya stood slowly. "Ethan brought Ranger here. Probably alone. Probably without safety gear. He exposed him to unstable devices to force advanced alerts." Jared exhaled. "He used him as a test meter." Maya nodded. "And if something went wrong?" Walker pointed at the scorched crater near the center. "Like that?" They all fell silent. Then, a sound cut through the still air, a soft, trembling bark from behind them. "Ranger!" Maya spun. The dog stood at the open crate door, shaking but focused, eyes locked on a small pile of rocks 10 yards away. He barked again, sharper, then again, more urgent. A pattern, a warning. Maya felt the skin on her arms rise. "He's not remembering the blast," she whispered. "He's detecting something." Jared squinted. "What's over there? Rocks? Metal?" Walker jogged ahead, crouched, and pushed the stones aside. He froze. "Maya, Jared, get over here." They rushed forward. Under the rocks lay a half-buried metal case, scorched at the edges, but surprisingly intact. Maya crouched beside it, heart pounding. She knew this type of container, fire-resistant, impact-resistant, designed to hold sensitive electronics, or explosives, but this one had a serial number. The same serial number from Ranger's file. Her blood ran cold. "This is the device," she whispered. "The one he was forced to test. The one that traumatized him." Jared straightened. "If this is evidence, real evidence, Ethan's done." "No," Maya said softly. She pressed her ear to the metal. Inside, something clicked. Not a bomb. A drive mechanism. "Maya," Walker's voice tightened. "What is it?" She lifted her head. "There's a hard drive inside. A coded one. Probably field data. Maybe even body cam footage from the test. If Ranger saw something, if this case recorded it." Jared's eyes went wide. "This could expose everything Ethan's been hiding." Ranger barked again, loud, sharp, an urgent command for them to move. Not away, forward, toward truth. But before Maya could reach for the case, a gunshot cracked across the desert. The bullet struck the sand an inch from Jared's boot. Walker shouted, "Down!" Ranger lunged toward Maya's side, trying to shield her with his body. And standing on the ridge above them, silhouetted against the blinding sun, was Ethan Rivera, holding a rifle, face twisted in fear and desperation. "You should have stayed out of it," he shouted. Maya pulled Ranger close. Too late. They were in the open, pinned, outgunned. And Ethan had come to erase the only witnesses he feared. A war dog. And the woman who finally understood him. The desert held its breath. Wind stalled. Dust hung motionless. Even the sun seemed to freeze in place, pinning them under a merciless white glare. Ethan Rivera stood on the ridge, rifle locked against his shoulder. The barrel glinted like a blade. "Step away from the case," he barked. Maya tightened her grip on Ranger's collar, not restraining him, grounding him. Walker whispered, "We're exposed." Jared muttered, "Spread out, slowly." "No," Ethan snapped. "Nobody moves." His voice cracked, not with power, but with panic. And Maya heard it clearly. He wasn't a hunter. He was a man cornered by his own lies. Maya rose halfway, hands open. "Ethan," she said gently, "don't do this. You still have a choice." "No, I don't," his voice shook. "You don't understand what's inside that case. If that footage gets out, if anyone sees what happened, I'm finished. You think I abused that dog? You think that's the worst thing I've done?" Ranger let out a low rumble, deep, primal, vibrating through the sand. He remembered. Ethan flinched. "That thing ruined everything," he shouted. "He wouldn't obey. He kept hesitating. He was unstable." "No," Maya said, standing fully now, measuring each word, keeping her voice steady. "He wasn't unstable. He was warning you. He sensed the device was too volatile." Ethan's face twisted. "He was wrong. And the prototype blew because he panicked." "No," Maya snapped, the truth finally boiling to the surface. "The prototype blew because you ignored his alert. Ranger wasn't the failure, you were." Ethan fired. The bullet tore into the dirt, inches from Maya's foot. Walker dove behind a mesquite bush. Jared rolled toward a rusted metal slab, but Maya didn't move. Neither did Ranger. Ethan's hands trembled around the trigger, desperate, terrified. Back, away, from that dog. Maya inhaled slowly. Then she did the single most dangerous and calculated thing she could. She stepped in front of Ranger, hands open, palm outward. "Shoot me," she said quietly. "He's done nothing wrong." Ranger stilled, completely. No trembling, no pacing. Just focus, protective, silent, waiting. Ethan hesitated, and that crack in his resolve was all Ranger needed. In a sudden electric shift of posture, muscles tightening, breath slowing, Ranger did something Maya had only seen in veteran war dogs. He assessed the angles. Not like a pet, like a soldier. Walker hissed, "Maya, he's about to—" "I know," she whispered. Ethan took one step down the slope, and Ranger moved. But not forward, not to attack. He circled Maya's legs, planting himself between her and the firing line, body rigid, head lowered, tail stiff. A textbook guardian stance. Jared's jaw dropped. Walker muttered, "Holy, he's protecting her." Ranger growled, a low, controlled vibration, not wild or frantic. A warning, not from fear, from purpose. Ethan's face drained white. What is he doing?" Maya didn't look away from Ranger. She kept her voice soft enough for only him to hear. "He's choosing his handler." Ethan's grip faltered. No, he's not trained for... He never did that for me." "Because you never earned it." Ethan's breathing quickened, panicked, irregular. Jared whispered, "He's unraveling." Walker added, "We need to disarm him before he hurts someone." But Maya lifted her hand. "No," she murmured. "Ranger has this." Ethan raised the rifle again, but his hands were shaking too badly to steady it. Ranger barked. One single thunder-sharp command bark. Ethan froze. Sweat dripped down his temple. What? What does that mean? Maya stared directly into his eyes. It means, she said slowly, that the only thing keeping you alive right now is that dog's discipline. Ethan's legs gave out. He dropped to his knees, rifle falling from his hands, breath ragged, shoulders shaking under the weight of everything he'd hidden for years. I didn't mean for any of it to happen, he whispered. Ranger stepped forward, still shielding Maya, but no longer growling. Not attacking, just watching. A soldier evaluating a surrender. Maya exhaled. It's over, Ethan. But the truth was settling over her like a rising storm. It wasn't over, not yet. Because whatever was on that hard drive was big enough that a trained handler had just risked murder to erase it. Sheriff units arrived 15 minutes after Ethan dropped the rifle. By then, the desert wind had picked up, erasing footprints, scattering dust across the metal case, half buried in the sand. Ranger stayed glued to Maya's side as officers cuffed Ethan, who barely resisted, mumbling half-coherent apologies and fragmented excuses. Jared and Walker supervised the evidence collection. And Maya, she knelt beside Ranger, running her hand over the thick fur of his neck, not petting, just grounding him. You did good, soldier, she whispered. Ranger leaned into her hand. Not fully, but enough. Enough to say he understood. The police interceptor rolled down the mountain road as the afternoon sun dipped behind the mesas. In the back of the vehicle, Ranger lay curled on a thick blanket, exhausted but calm. Walker kept glancing at him with awe. He hasn't taken his eyes off you once, he told Maya. She nodded, staring out the window. He made his choice. What do you mean? Maya took a slow breath. Most military working dogs bond in layers. You can train them, handle them, command them, but they only give themselves to someone who sees them. Not as equipment, not as an asset, but as a partner. Walker smiled. And he sees you as exactly that. Maya didn't smile back. Instead, she whispered, I think he saw Max in me, and I saw Max in him. Walker's expression softened. Maybe that's why he found you, he said. That night, the shelter's tiny break room became an incident command center. Sheriff's deputies, 2 federal investigators, and the hard drive, carefully extracted from the scorched metal case, connected to a forensic laptop. The footage was grainy, dark, distorted by heat shimmer, but clear enough. Ranger, younger and stronger, sniffing a device perched on a metal crate. Ethan, standing too close, holding a phone, not a detonator, but illegally used as a testing trigger. The device glitching, warning lights flashing, and the dog, ears pinned, body rigid, alerting hard, desperately, trying to save them. But Ethan ignored him, and the device ruptured, a blinding flash, a scream, then static. The room went silent. The lead investigator closed the laptop. That's enough, he said. Rivera's going away for a very long time. Angela wiped her eyes. Jared exhaled shakily. Walker muttered, That dog survived something none of us would have walked away from. Maya nodded. He didn't just survive, she whispered. He remembered, and he protected us because of it. Weeks passed. Winter thawed into the early blush of spring. Grass began to return in pale green patches around the shelter yard. Ranger changed too. The trembling stopped. The defensive pacing faded. He began to sleep, stretched out instead of curled tight. He even ventured, on his own, into the training yard, nose tracking the wind, ears relaxed. But the biggest change? He followed Maya everywhere. Not with clinginess, with purpose, like a soldier watching his unit. One crisp morning, Jared approached Maya by the fence. The board reviewed his case, he said. He's no longer classified as unadoptable. He's cleared for full behavioral recovery. Maya nodded. Good. You know, Jared added carefully, he doesn't have to stay at the shelter. She didn't answer. Ranger padded up beside her, sitting tall, shoulders squared, mirroring her stance. Jared smiled. Looks like he already made the decision for you. Maya knelt, placing a hand over Ranger's chest. You ready? She asked softly. Ranger leaned forward, pressing his forehead to hers. It wasn't affection. It was an oath. A vow made without words. Maya closed her eyes. Then we go home. The sun dipped behind the red mesa ridge as Maya and Ranger walked toward her truck. Side by side, silhouettes stretched across the golden dirt. No leash, no command, just trust. And for the first time since his life fractured on that testing range, Ranger didn't look over his shoulder. He only looked forward. Some heroes fight battles we'll never see. Some carry scars we'll never touch. And some speak their truth not with words, but with a quiet nudge, a steady gaze, and a heartbeat that refuses to give up. Ranger was never broken. He was waiting for someone brave enough to kneel beside his fear, patient enough to listen to the silence, and gentle enough to let him heal on his own terms. And maybe that's the miracle hidden inside every story like his. That when we choose compassion over fear, when we stand still long enough to let another soul breathe, we don't just save them, we save ourselves. If this journey touched your heart, we'd be honored to walk with you again. Please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Because every paw print holds a story, and the next one is already waiting for you. Pawprints of Valor, where animal instinct meets human courage.